There has been loads of new tech coming out that can be used for model railroading. Two of the big ones have been 3D printing and laser engravers and cutters. Now, I have tried a laser engraver before, and I've been taking my time to learn what laser cutting can do for you. So when Elgu reached out and asked me to try their FedCut laser engraver and cutter, I figured this was the perfect time to go over what I've learned about laser cutting and model railroading. And just to talk about the machine I'm going to be using, the elufecta is a laser engraver and cutter that is actually pretty affordable. You can find these for just $270 for the 10-watt version. Now I have the 20-watt version that also comes with an air assist and a grid for placing under the cutter and a roller for things like cups and tumblers. Now I'm not going to use that in model railroading a bunch, but it's cool to have. This kit is $460, which is still a pretty good deal for everything that you get. They will have a workspace of 400 by 400 millimeters, which means that you can actually laser cut your own T-Track single modules. Okay, let's get to what we're here for. In order to test this model of laser cutter, I wanted to try the two most common materials you would be using in model railroading. That would be wood and styrene. Before we actually get into cutting and engraving, you need to know that you're basically burning through materials with this thing, which means that you'll be putting out some smoke and some pretty noxious gases when you do this, depending on your material. So make sure your room is well ventilated. I use my laser cutter and engraver in my garage with the door open and fans running.
You also want to make sure that you are wearing protective eyewear. This laser can hurt your eyes if you look at it, so wear that eyewear.
Let's start with wood. For testing the wood, I wanted to make this. Now this is a small module that is the same height as a T-Track module and the exact length of a Kato 248mm straight. I'm working on a mini module design for N-scale, but that's a whole nother video. We need to figure out what settings we need to cut with. Now there are three basic parameters you need to pay attention to in laser cutting and engraving: speed, power, and the number of passes, or how many times it goes over the pattern. To figure out what would work best, I created a material test in Lightburn, which is a pretty common software to use for laser cutting and engraving. Now this is a $60 software, and there are free softwares out there, but most of those are for PC, and I have a Mac, so Lightburn is really my only option, but it is a really good program, and I do recommend it if you have the cash to spend on it. The test I am creating will do a series of squares at various powers and speeds. All you have to do is look at what speed and power combination got you the desired result and use those settings. Now, this is where it gets a bit different. You can use full blast and only do one pass going slow, but you're more than likely going to get something that's set on fire. By the way, the FedCut has a fire alarm if that happens. Ask me how I know that.
How do you know that?
How do you know that?
Because I set the wood on fire when I was cutting. I have found that multiple passes at either higher speeds or mid speeds and lower power give the best result and minimize burn marks. For example, the 1/8" birch plywood I'm cutting the module out of, I used 70% power at 42 millimeters per second and did 15 passes. This gave me the perfect cut without any real burn marks. One thing that made it super easy was the little height gauge that the FedCut has on its laser module. When I did this, I saved the project onto the included SD card, I lined up my piece of wood, and I was ready to go. Now, it has a feature called Trace the Edge, which allows you to see what the workspace is going to be and where it's going to cut, so that you make sure that you don't go off the edge with the laser cutter. Once that was tested, I started the project. The module came out perfectly. And went together like a professional made it, so that's pretty cool. Now, let's talk about styrene. In addition to the smoke that comes off of it from burning, styrene can also put out some noxious fumes when you're cutting it with a laser. So definitely make sure you're taking precautions for this. Styrene can also be tricky because it burns and melts easily. It's a plastic, and it can warp as well. For styrene, I have found that several fast passes at higher power can give you the desired result. Having faster passes and higher power allows less time for warping, burning, and melting, but will also get a cut or at least a line going it because of that higher power. Now, you will probably still get some warping, so try to use the laser as something that can score lines for snapping with styrene. I'm using 0.04 styrene, and I decided to try etching a brick pattern and cutting a tunnel portal. You really have to do a materials test like the one I did for wood to get your settings right because styrene is a bit more finicky than wood. Overall, once I was done, it came out great. Now, I'm actually planning on scratch building a warehouse on my layout and using the laser cutter in combination with my 3D printer to get the result I want. And that should be a pretty cool project. So what should you look for in a laser engraver and cutter? And should you get one? Well, if you are really into scratch building buildings, this is an excellent tool, especially if you got to replicate a bunch of buildings like, let's say, mill houses or things like that. It can also be great for custom panels for your layout as well. Think about little switch panels and things like that. You can typically find consumer lasers with the 10 watt and 20 watt varieties. The elufecta comes in both varieties, and you can upgrade from the 10 to the 20 watt by purchasing the upgraded laser module and not having to buy a whole new laser cutter. So that's pretty cool. I also like the fact that this one comes with leg extensions for getting the laser cover above the cutting and engraving surface. Overall, if I am recommending a laser engraver and cutter from the few that I have used, I really like this one. It seems to me that Eilgu has really gone for a balance of ease of use and quality with this and their 3D printers because I love their 3D printers as well. I can happily recommend this thing if you are looking for one. And I've got a link in the description for this laser engraver and cutter.
Check out some of these model railroad businesses. Scaletree.com. Scaletree.com makes hero and forest trees for HO and N-scale. They also do custom trees for custom orders. Check them out at scaletree.com. Trains in the Valley. Trains in the Valley is a model train shop located in Pennsylvania. They sell new and used model trains with a mission to make trains accessible to everyone. You can check them out at trainsinthevalley.com. Link in the description. Model Railway Backshop is a great place if you're looking for a quality paint job for your old or new brass model locomotive. And if you're looking to get that brass model weathered, you can get that done too. Plus DCC and sound upgrades. And right now you can get 10% off any brass model painting and weathering job by using the promo code NMRA10. Check them out at modelrailwaybackshop.com. Penguin 3D Workshop offers 3D prints and electronics for model railroading, specializing in hard or impossible to find train parts, and they also offer custom designing and printing. Use promo code DDRR5OFF to get 5% off your order. Check them out at penguin3dworkshop.com.
Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading.